Hey guys, welcome to lesson 6. We're just going to do one part total. Usually this is broken up into 2 parts, but we're just going to focus on one lesson. So piecewise functions, you guys should have had this before. So like if you have a graph that, maybe looks like this, that is possibly a piecewise function. So notice there's kind of 3 pieces to this. So here to here, here to here, and here to here. So that's why these look funny, because each one of these sections, they're doing something completely different. So there's going to be like a different function or maybe set of directions that it wants you to do. So I'm going to help you to decode this. Other than that, it's pretty easy. So when I come to a problem like this, the first thing that I do is I personally divide this into 3 sections. So I'll call this 1, 2, and 3. And so the most difficult part of this is figuring out which section each of these numbers go into. So let's see, -5. So is -5, so we're going to plug that in for x. Is -5 less than or equal to -5? Is it between -5 and +5? Or is it greater than +5? So if you'll notice that it should go in that first one. So I'm just going to put a little 1 there. Okay, now let's look at the -2. So -2, is -2 less than or equal to -5? Is it between -5 and 5? Or is it greater than 5? So -2 should go in that second line. Okay, and finally, let's do 7. So is 7 less than -5? Is it between -5 and 5? Or is it greater than 5? So 7 is greater than 5, so it goes in that last one. Okay, so now from here, we are just going to do what it tells us to do. So since it's in this first one, I'm going to plug in -5 for x. But notice that there's no x there, so it just tells me what my answer is going to be. So if there's no x, we don't have to plug in anything. My answer is just going to be -8. So the second one is the same way. It's just 0, and then this last one is 5. Okay, so let's go to where we actually have to plug in something. So I'm going to call this section 1, section 2. So go ahead and figure out where each of these numbers, which section each of them go in. So notice 2, this is less than 2, so it doesn't include 2. This is greater than or equal to 2. So that's why the number 2 goes in that second one and not the first one. Other than that, it should be pretty self-explanatory. So because -6 goes in that first section, then I'm going to plug in -6 for x right here. So I'm going to say 5 times -6 minus 9. So my answer would be -39. Okay, let's do the second one. So we're in the second section now. So I'm going to square the 2. So 2 squared is 4, and I have that negative on the outside. So -4 plus 4, that's going to be 0. And then notice this is in section 2 as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So 3 squared is 9. So I have -9 plus 4 is -5. Okay, so this is the exact same way. I'm going to break this up into 3 sections. So the first thing that you're going to do is decide which section each one of these numbers goes in, and then plug it in. So go ahead and figure out the section. Okay, so I listed the section numbers. Now we're just going to plug the number into the correct section. So 4 squared is 16, and so it's going to be -16. So this -4 goes into this one. So -4 to the 3rd power, that's -64, times 2 is -128, minus 1 is -129. Okay, now we're back to the second section. So when I plug this in, I'm going to get a +9 here, but then that negative makes it a -9. And then for this last one, I'm going to plug it in to this last one. So square root of 4 times 5, so I have the square root of 20. And you don't have to simplify it. I'm not grading you on that. Okay, so now we're going to go kind of a different way of looking at this, and we are going to graph it. So I don't know why this graph is missing. That's okay, I'll just put it in. So if you have, for each section, you're going to do an XY chart. So I'm going to do an XY chart for this one. I'll do this in a different color. I'll do an XY chart for this one. And I will do an XY chart for this one. Okay, so let's start with the orange XY chart. So what it says, now I can't even see it. It says when x is greater than or equal to -3. So I'm going to start at -3, and I think I said greater than, sorry, less than or equal to. So I'm going to go down. So -3, -4, -5. That should probably be enough. Okay, so then I'm just going to plug those numbers in here. So I have, and a lot of times, guys, something else on my graph is I will go ahead and look at my boundary. So I have a x equals -3 as a boundary, and I just put like a little dotted line there. I know that's like, that is going to be either where something starts or something ends. So a lot of times I'll do that. And then it looks like my only other one is 2. So if you'll notice, I have 3 sections, 1, 2, 3. And so we're going to fill in those 3 sections. So let me take this out. Okay, so let's go back to our XY chart. So I'm going to plug in -3 right here. So let's see, -3 plus 3, that's 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. -4 plus 3 is -1. The absolute value of -1 is 1. -5 plus 3 is -2. The absolute value of -2 is 2. So I'm going to graph that. And notice, guys, I always, like at the boundaries, I always figure out if it's open or closed. So this, because it's a greater than or less than or equal to, it's going to be a closed dot. So I have -3, 0. I have -4, 1, and I have -5, 2. And this is going to keep going on and on and on forever. So it's all these less than. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put an arrow. There's no boundaries there. Okay, so we're done with this. I'm going to erase all this. And now I'm going to go to this one right here. So I'm really going to put in those values. So -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. You do not have to put these all in. Definitely put the first and the last one to get like the idea of your graph, but you do not have to put all these in between. Okay, well, notice that first of all, this is going to be an open dot because you can't really see it. There is not an equal to there. But then down here, this is going to be a closed dot. Okay, so notice that all the y's are just 4. So that's easy. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So what that means, hopefully we'll see this. So -3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be an open dot. -2, 4, -1, 4, 0, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4. So it's going to be this line right here. So it's going to have an open dot on the left and a closed dot on the right. Okay, now let's do this last one. So we're done with that one. Let's do the last graph. So it begins at 2, but notice that there's going to be an open dot there, and it's greater than. So 3, 4. That should probably be good. Okay, so when I plug in 2 here, 5 minus 2 is 3. When I plug in 3 here, 5 minus 3 is 2, and then 1. So let's go ahead and graph this. So 2, 3 is going to be an open dot. 1, 2, 3, open. And then 3, 2, 4, 1. And notice that this goes on and on forever. So this is bounded. So that's why it has a beginning and an end. But the ones on the ends are not bounded. So they're going to have the arrows. Whew. Okay, so that is graphing our piecewise function. So we're going to do the same thing here. So for this one, notice like the first thing that's jumping out at me is that it's going to be -3 is going to be like where things start happening. Okay, so let's go with the first one, and then we'll make the second one in orange. Okay, so the first one is -3, and it's less than, so this is going to be closed. And so we're going to do -3, -4, -5, and notice that they're all ones. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. So -3, 1, close dot, -4, 1, and -5, 1. And that's going to keep going on and on and on forever. So I'm just going to make my arrow that way. Okay, now on the other side, this -3, that's going to be an open dot. So when I plug this in, I'm going to have 3, +3, right, because that negative, -1 is 2. And then let's go to -2, -1. So notice I'm going up because it's greater than. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So -3, 2. That is going to be an open dot. -2, 1. -1, 0. And it's just going to keep going. So it's going to look like that. Okay, so for this one, my boundary is going to be at 0. So I'm going to make my XY chart. And notice that this is going to be an open dot because there's not a greater than or less than or equal to. Okay, so let's see, less than 0. So 0, -1, -2, and we're just going to keep going down and down and down forever. So this is going to be 0, -3, -6. So open dot, oops, that looks hideous. So open dot, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's going to be this really steep line going that way. Okay, so let's do, I'll do it in green. And so we're going to start at 0, and this is going to be closed because it's got the greater than or equal to. So now it's greater than, so I'm going to do 0, 1, 2. And notice that all of these are just going to be 4. So it's going to give us a straight line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of these are 4. So it looks like that. And that is it.